All right, I am filming this on Thursday afternoon. The NFL season begins tonight with the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs. And so in honor of that, I'm going to be going through and giving one word to describe my expectations for every single team in the NFL going into this season. And this was harder than I thought it was going to be. One word to sum up my feelings about every single team before they get started in week one. Let's get it going with the Detroit Lions, and right off the bat, I have to sum it up with the word championship. For Detroit, the word championship, because anything less than that, anything less than at least getting to the Super Bowl is probably going to be considered a disappointment at this point, because Detroit, all of that city is going nuts. They are so excited. They got to the NFC Championship and almost won it last year. So now the expectation is, if you don't get to the Super Bowl, if you don't get an NFC Championship at least, this season's going to be a disappointment. The word for Detroit is championship. The Minnesota Vikings, the word is unfortunate. This preseason has just been a series of unfortunate events for the Minnesota Vikings. J.J. McCarthy tearing his meniscus. You've had legal trouble with Jordan Addison. They even had a player to pass away, unfortunately, as tragic as that is. It has been a very unfortunate preseason for Minnesota, and with the division they're in, I don't think it's going to make for a good regular season. With Sam Darnold at quarterback, I don't even think Justin Jefferson's going to be good enough to bail him out, as great as Justin Jefferson is. I have got the word for Minnesota as unfortunate. We now go to the Chicago Bears, where the word is potential. The word for Chicago is potential. With the talent they have with Odunze, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift, the incoming number one pick in the draft, Caleb Williams. It better not be this week. It better not be this week they show that potential, because they're playing my Tennessee Titans. That defensive front they have that has a lot of people excited about that. The expectations are high in Chicago this year, and the word for them is potential, because if all of that's able to come together, that could be a pretty dangerous team. The last team in the NFC North is the Green Bay Packers, where the word is momentum. Can they carry over the momentum that they ended last season with? The momentum that was so strong it got Jordan Love paid, and paid well, this offseason. A lot of people weren't as excited about Green Bay last year until it got to the end and they started winning and winning and winning, and then they knock off Dallas in the playoffs, nearly beat San Francisco. Can Green Bay carry that momentum over into this season and make something of it? Now let's go over to the AFC North with the Pittsburgh Steelers, where the word I've chosen is tough. I don't think Pittsburgh's a playoff team. I think Pittsburgh is always, though, a team that exceeds expectations, and even in times when they lose, they are tough. They hit hard, they hit fast, and Pittsburgh, even if you beat them, it's going to be tough, and you're going to know you've been in a battle, because that's how Mike Tomlin coaches. So I've got the word for Pittsburgh as tough. For the Cincinnati Bengals, the word is health. For one guy in particular, and that is Joe Burrow. If they can keep him healthy, they can win a Super Bowl. If they don't keep him healthy, which they've had a hard time doing in his career, they're not going to win a Super Bowl. They might not even make the playoffs without him. So the word for Cincinnati is health, and particularly when it comes to Joe Burrow, even though they have other guys who have dealt with health issues too, but don't we all? The Cleveland Browns, the word for them is defense. Defense is what carried them last year, even when they had to go with Joe Flacco, who joined them off of the couch. Their defense was so strong, especially that front with Myles Garrett leading the way. The word for them is defense. If they're going to make a push this year, if they're going to get to the playoffs this year, it's going to have to be on the back of that defense, especially in that tough division. The last team in the AFC North here is the Ravens, who play tonight. The word for them is Chiefs. Can you beat the Chiefs? And they're going to find out tonight. If you don't beat them tonight, and even if you do, the hanging over from that AFC title game last year, it really feels like the Ravens are starting to land into that same boat as the Buffalo Bills. Can you beat the Chiefs? Can you do it when it matters? We'll find out if they can beat them tonight, but even if they do, that's going to be a question that surrounds these Ravens all year long. Can you beat the Chiefs when it matters? And I guess that's the question for everybody. Let's go to the NFC East with the Philadelphia Eagles, and the word I've chosen for them is fluke. And here's the reason I've chosen the word fluke, because I think the Eagles are going to win this division this year. I think I had them going 12-5. But 2 years ago, everything was great. They went to the Super Bowl. They nearly won the Super Bowl. Everything was awesome. Last year, they totally fell apart. Which one of those was a fluke? Was that Super Bowl year the fluke, or was last year the total collapse? Was that a fluke? We're going to find out this year. It's best 2 out of 3. You still got Jalen. You still got AJ. You still got Devontae Smith. I think Nick Sirianni is overrated as a head coach. Time will tell, but everybody loved him 2 years ago. Last year, he was on the hot seat. So which year was the fluke? We will find out this upcoming season. The Washington Commanders, I did a tier ranking of NFL teams weeks ago, and I had a category called Frisky, and Washington was kind of leading the way in that category. So the word for the Washington Commanders is frisky. Washington could be dangerous. They've got some good young weapons, and I talked about this yesterday with Dan Quinn as the head coach. That defense could be playing at a higher level than people expect, because think about what he had Dallas doing. He has coached Atlanta to a Super Bowl before. So look out for the Washington Commanders. I think they are frisky. Let's talk about the New York Giants. My word for them is bad. I think the Giants are going to be bad. I think it's time to go in a new direction at quarterback. I think it's been time to go in a new direction at quarterback. I do like Malik Neighbors. I do like Brian DeBole. I do think there are some pieces there for the future, but for this season, I think the outlook for the Giants is bad. The final team in the NFC East is the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, and the word for them is drama, because that's what surrounds this team all the time, and we've seen it already with CeeDee Lamb. They ended up paying him, but they had to get through all of that drama. There's always drama with the Cowboys, and it starts at the top with Jerry Jones. This is not just your average owner that nobody ever sees or hears from. This is Jerry Jones, who turns this entire organization into a soap opera, and it's almost impossible for them to overcome no matter how much talent they have. So the word for Dallas is drama. Let's go to the AFC East with the Miami Dolphins, and my word for them, I think this is one word: home field. There is no team that needs home field in the playoffs more than the Miami Dolphins. They can't win on the road. They can't win in the cold. They can win at home, though. So there's going to be pressure in Miami, not just to get to the playoffs, but I think there's pressure on them to get that number 1 seed so that everybody has to come to them. They don't need to be going on the road in the playoffs, because if they're going to get to the Super Bowl, they got to be at home. So the Dolphins, especially even late in the regular season, they need as many home games as possible. The Jets, I'm saying overhyped. I just do not believe in this Jets hype train. Aaron Rodgers, as great as he's been, he's older. He's coming off of a major injury. There are people who are trying to hype up the Jets as being the Super Bowl contenders. I think they are overhyped. I do not buy it a bit. The Buffalo Bills, the word for them, regression. I like Josh Allen, and I fully understand how great Josh Allen is. I still think the Bills are a playoff team this year, but when I say regression, I don't think that the Bills are going to be Super Bowl contenders. I don't see the Bills as that team that you're like, hey, that's the team that could knock off the Chiefs. I could have used the word Chiefs for them too, obviously. But I'm going to use regression because I do think Josh Allen's going to be good enough to get him to the playoffs. But I think in terms of being Super Bowl contenders, I think the Bills are going to take a step back this year. And the final team in the AFC East is the New England Patriots. And I'm using the word worst for them. I think they're going to be the worst team in the league. And I think that is, I mean, it's weird to talk about the Patriots in that way, but just not a whole lot of talent. They started Jacoby Brissett. I'm not a big believer in Drake May if and when they go to him at some point, and there's just not a lot of talent there, and you can't even use the excuse that maybe Belichick can bail him out of some messes because even he's not there anymore. I think the Patriots could be the worst team in the league when it's all said and done. Maybe not week 1, but eventually. Let's go to the NFC West with the LA Rams, and the word for them is sneaky. The Rams are sneaky. Everybody always loves to talk about the 49ers and the Cowboys and the Packers and even lately the Lions. But the Rams are that sneaky team. They snuck up on some people last year, and they almost beat Detroit in the playoffs. Everybody, even my dog, is gift wrapping this division to the San Francisco 49ers, but the Rams are sneaky. They could sneak up on the 49ers in that division. They could sneak up on anybody in the NFC. So look out for the Rams. Sounds like my wife's home, and that's why the dog was barking. The Arizona Cardinals, this may be kind of lame, but the word for them is Kyler, because that's really what they've got to figure out this season, is where they stand with Kyler Murray. Is this the guy for their future? With the injuries, can he stay healthy? If he's in there, can he be consistent enough? He's gotten them to the playoffs before. He did melt down in those playoffs when he got there. But the main thing that the Arizona Cardinals need to figure out this year is Kyler Murray. Where do we stand with this guy? Do we need to go in a new direction? Obviously, Marvin Harrison is in town now, and I'm very high on him. I think he's going to be an absolute superstar. With him there, can Kyler Murray prove that he is the guy to take the Cardinals into the future? That's what they got to figure out this year. The Seattle Seahawks, the word for them is gritty. I don't think that the Seahawks are a playoff team this year, but with Mike McDonald as the coach, he's going to have the defense playing gritty just like he did in Baltimore. He's going to have that defense playing well. I don't think people are going to be scoring a whole lot of points against Seattle. I think you're going to be lucky to get into the 20s on most weeks against them. Geno Smith, we know he's a gritty quarterback. That's just the word I think of when I think of Seattle, especially when Pete Carroll was there. But I think Mike McDonald will carry on that tradition of grit, tough. It's going to be tough to go in there and play. We know that stadium gets loud. And wherever you play Seattle, they're going to be a gritty team, and they're going to be tough to put points up on. The San Francisco 49ers, the word for them is obvious. The 49ers, the obvious pick from the NFC to go to the Super Bowl. They always work out the deals with people they need to work out the deals with. I remember when Deebo Samuel, he was demanding a trade. They said, no, you're coming back here. We're going to pay you. Brandon Ayuk, there were rumors he wanted to trade. No, we want you here. We're keeping you. Trent Williams, he wanted to trade. Nope, we want you here, so you're coming back. And now they've got all of that talent. They've been to the Super Bowl a couple times. They're always in the mix. They'll be in the mix this year, and I think they are the obvious pick because of all of that talent they have on both sides of the ball to get to the Super Bowl. Let's go to the AFC West with the Denver Broncos. The word for them is future. They need to use this year to look to the future, obviously with Bo Nix. Finding out I think he was better in the preseason than I expected. I thought they drafted him too high, but I also understand why they did it because Denver needs a quarterback. They didn't have a whole lot of cap space this offseason, so there wasn't a whole lot of direction that they could go to really improve the roster. Jerry Jeudy's gone, and now they've just got to figure out the future, and that centers around Bo Nix. Kind of similar with Arizona and Kyler Murray, but especially with Bo because he's a rookie. You got to figure out if this dude can play. You got to figure out if this dude can play well, and then hopefully next offseason you start bringing in the pieces to put around him to turn them back into Super Bowl contenders eventually. The Chargers, the word for them this year is foundational. I don't think the Chargers are a playoff team this year just because they don't have a big threat on the outside. Although I do understand Justin Herbert, one of the great young quarterbacks in the league. I think Jim Harbaugh is a great head coach, and it's good to see him back in the NFL. I wish he was in the NFC, but he's in the AFC with the Chargers. I think this is a foundational year. I think this is a year for Jim Harbaugh to establish his culture there, to establish what kind of team they're going to be, and then next year they got to go out and get some weapons on the outside for Justin Herbert. But the word for them this year is foundational. For the Raiders, the word I chose for them is just there. The Raiders are just there. They've got Gardner Minshew. I did like them picking up Brock Bowers. They've still got Devontae Adams, who I believe is one of the best wide receivers. But for the Raiders, I just see them around that 6-11, 7-10 range, and they're just there. They're just there right now, especially being in a division with Kansas City, who we're about to talk about. There's nothing that, I don't look at them and see a horrible team. I don't look at them and see a great team. I just see a team that's there and will win a few games. Minshew, automatically the Minshew mania is going to win you a couple. Let's go to the Kansas City Chiefs. My goodness, the word for them is dynasty. They're trying to go three-peat, and they're already a dynasty, but they're looking to continue that on with a three-peat this year with Mahomes and Kelsey. They've got a mid group of receivers and running backs, but you know what? Well, Pacheco's pretty good, but still, they've got a mid group on the outside. It doesn't matter. Pat Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelsey, Chris Jones. The main characters they have are still there, and Mahomes is the main one as long as he's there. They're going to be just fine. Let's go to the NFC South with the Atlanta Falcons, where the word for them is now. The time is now, as John Cena would say, for the Atlanta Falcons to do what they need to do. They haven't been to the playoffs in a while. That 28-3 curse has been looming around. But now there's no reason for you to not win this division. You should, with the schedule they have, you should beat up on your own division. You should win most of your games. You should theoretically at least be 11-6, if not 12-5, if not 13-4. Kirk Cousins, by far the best quarterback in that division. There's no excuse for the Falcons not to win this division, go to the playoffs, and depending on how they're looking with all the young talent they have on both sides of the ball, the time is now for Atlanta to return back and get over that 28-3 mess. The Carolina Panthers, The word for them is better. I think the Panthers are going to be better. I think Bryce Young is going to be better. I don't think they're a playoff team at all. I still think they're a 6-11-ish type team, but that would be better than what they were. Last year they were the worst. I think this year they will be better and take a step in the right direction. I like Bryce Young, and I hope that they can figure it out. For Tampa Bay, this was a tough one, but I chose the word veterans. I just think Tampa Bay is a team that has, I mean, they've got Rashad White. I know, he's 25, 26 years old. I just think of him and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Even Baker has been in the league a little while. And some of their defensive starters, Vita Vea and Levante David. I mean, these are guys, they've been around. They've been around the block a time or two. And with that comes injury possibilities. And they're just, what that means for them, is that going to mean they're hurt a lot? And so they're missing guys all the time? Or is that veteran presence going to be enough to lift them like it did last year to win more games than people thought? I do think they won the division by default last year because it was so bad. The Saints the word for them is rattler. Because I don't see a lot about this Saints team that excites me. I don't know of any Saints fans that are particularly over the moon excited about Derek Carr. The main thing people are ready to see is eventually, if and when they pull the trigger and put Spencer Rattler in. The rookie, he had a great preseason, threw some nice balls. They even played the Titans in a game. He had some nice passes. I know it's second and third string stuff. You know how preseason football is. But there are some Saints fans who are really liking the idea of seeing Spencer Rattler get his chance to be the quarterback, and that could be a major bright spot for New Orleans if he comes in and plays well at some point, because I don't see much else to be excited about there. The Houston Texans, we're in the AFC South. The word for them is pressure, rushing down on me. The Houston Texans, they have pressure. Everybody's expecting them to win this division. Everybody's expecting C.J. Stroud to come out and be one of the best. Everybody's expecting them to build on what they did last year. I've said it before, they are going from being the hunter to the hunted. Nobody expected them to be as good as they were last year. Nobody was predicting them to win the AFC South. But because Jacksonville, who we're about to talk about, they kind of wet the bed and totally melted down, it gave an opportunity for Houston to come in and win that division. Then they beat Cleveland in the playoffs. So CJ Stroud has a division title under his belt. He has a playoff win under his belt. And now there's pressure because people expect you now to take a step up and be even better than you were. Bringing in Stephon Diggs, Daniil Hunter. People expect them to be good. There's pressure on Houston going into this year for the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I just referenced. The word is consistency. 2 years ago, when the ball got rolling and they started winning games, Trevor Lawrence was playing the best that he has in the NFL, and they got to the playoffs, won a playoff game. Okay, last year when the snowball got rolling the wrong way and they started losing, Lawrence looked bad. Everything looked bad. So Trevor Lawrence is the kind of quarterback, if things start going well, and if the snowball starts rolling the right way, he can be good. But if it starts going south, probably not. So the key for them is consistency. Whether they're consistently winning or losing, they got to figure it out. And Trevor Lawrence has got to be more consistent just on his own. For the Colts, the word is overrated. I don't get the hype around the Colts. I know it's similar to overhyped, which is what I used for the Jets earlier. I think they're overrated. There are people predicting the Colts to make the playoffs left and right, even some predicting them to win this division, and I don't get it. Obviously, I have talked about Anthony Richardson and how unproven he is that he can stay healthy and that he can be good if he is healthy. Their secondary's young. Their front, I know they drafted the guy in the first round. I'm not particularly going crazy about anything to do with their defense, hardly. Jonathan Taylor hasn't really done anything spectacular since 2021. There's health issues there. Outside of Michael Pittman, I don't see anybody on the outside that has me jumping for joy. I think the Colts are overrated. And last but not least, the home team here on this channel, the Tennessee Titans. The word for them is mystery. Because I am a diehard, and I don't have a dang clue. I don't have a dang clue what we're going to see on Sunday against the Bears. I don't have a dang clue what we're going to see this year. New coach, new coaching staff, new philosophy that this organization's never had. I still consider Will Levis to be new because he did play last year, but this is his first time going in as the starter. Like, it's his team. New faces all over the field on both sides of the ball. I have no idea. It is a mystery. I don't even know what we're going to see on Sunday, much less for this entire year. But I hope it's good. That is my word of the day for every single team going into the 2024 season. Let me know if I got the word right for your team, I can only imagine what you guys are going to say. God bless you. Tighten up. Bye.